Testing, testing. Jehovah, thank you. Today is another opportunity to redeem the time, to try to share things that will encourage my brethren to continue as faiths in a world in which we are a minority. We're scattered, and it's hard for us to get together. And it could seem like the journey is too long for some of us. And so I'm asking that you use my video to encourage brethren and to let them know that there are other brethren who believe that we can be a light while we are in this reality, while we're on the earth. And so, Jehovah, I'm just asking that you will help me. You will give me words where I could speak to brethren, and that we could enjoy our fellowship together for this brief time. And that I will be inspired to give words of encouragement and to uplift brethren in their faith, and to give us strength to deal with the things of our reality. And just so that most of all, we can redeem the time. Jehovah, please, in your name. And I also pray for all the brethren and who will see these videos and those who don't, who are faithless, that you will strengthen us to help to bring about the kingdom on the earth. So I thank you in your name. So let it be. All right, brethren. My name is Jaquab on Israel. Welcome to my channel. Let me do some more housekeeping before I begin. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me. I try to go live Tuesdays and Fridays. At this time, I'm trying to do a little housekeeping before I begin. I try to go live Tuesdays and Fridays. This is a channel for brethren who are known as faithists. Now, the reason for this channel here is I want to, anyone who doesn't know, I want to introduce this book that's on the screen here. It's called the OAHSPE, OAHSPE. It's the newest revelation from the Creator. It's really the greatest revelation of our lifetime that no one knows about, not too many people care about. It's really meant for those who have been prepared for this time and those who are going to come after us, as well as those who were before us. This is really a book that has been given to those who have been prepared, who are ready to be, to germinate, to, what's a good word for, begin their spiritual journey while they're here on the earth. Many brethren will not begin their spiritual journey until after they leave the earth. And what I mean by that, there are brethren here on the earth who have been chosen to start to make the resurrection. In other words, That means to know the will of the Creator, to begin the work of taking off the self, trying to deal with the tetraks, which is the lower vibrations that the Creator has allowed to come upon mankind as a way to get him to improve himself, to make the resurrection. And that reminds me, I'm going to share from a study. Let me bring that up. I don't want to forget that. And I'm going to read from it. It's a real blessing. A study that we did in the Wednesday study that we had been working on. And if you'll bear with me for a second while I bring it up here so I can have that ready. I'm going to touch on this. Really good study, really interesting study. Elder brother did it. Incredible blessing. If it'll let me bring it up. Okay, there we go. All right, you can't see it. I'm not on that page yet, but I need to bring that up so I can have it ready. Now, on the screen here again, here's the OAHSPE. That's what this channel is. This channel is dedicated to sharing and having fellowship with other brethren who subscribe to this word also, the OAHSPE, and the latest revelation from the Creator. It's not very popular. It's very controversial. It's basically meant for brethren who are ready to germinate in their faith, ready to begin the work of making resurrection, that sort of thing. Here's our website where you can go and you can get materials and information about who we are, what we do, different groups who believe the same way, who believe the same as other faithists do. We're called faithists. So that's the website right there. You can go there for ministry and information, really. I'll give you a little scroll to see, so you could see the information. We have meetings where brethren like to get together and have Bible study and meditate and pray and exercise our faith. We like to try to exercise our faith. Faithists are big believer in projecting wisdom, love, knowledge to the world. We believe that we can use our minds and project energy into the world. It may sound kooky, but here's the website, a website where you can donate, you can get information and contact information if you want to know, if you want to try to find out more about what the OAHSPE teaches. And we have Bible study on Wednesday, and also there's a brother that has one on Thursday. And I don't have his information. He gives a link the day of the study. The day of the study, he sends out a link to join a Zoom meeting. I went to the first. I had been on his. I've been on his channel before. I've been to one of his meetings before, I saw a video of a study that he was of a meeting or something like that, and I ended up forgetting about it, and then a sister told me about it recently, and so I went to they had a meeting on Thursday, and I highly recommend it, man. I highly recommend it. The brothers Zoom meeting where they get together, they pray, They encourage one another. They try to enlighten one another. And I get the feeling that it's going to be more of these popping up, that the Creator promises that the faith is that our communities are going to grow. I have on the screen right now the information for the Wednesday study. Any of you brethren who desire to have fellowship and have a Bible study on Wednesday, here's the information right here. I'm going to scroll it. You can stop the video if you want to read a little bit more about what it's saying. So also, I have to get the information from the brother for the Thursday study, and so I can promote that as well. That was, I think that was like a Zoom meeting for the future. What future faith meetings are going to be like? We're going to pray. We're going to put the Creator. We're going to, I don't want to say like putting to the test, but the Creator, He tells us to get together and to be like-minded, to be single-minded, to give prayer. And the Ashars, they use that. The angels, they take our vibration, our energy, and they project it. So that was a Thursday study. We got a Wednesday study. We got brethren who are doing content creation here on YouTube, different days of the week. And so it seems like the Creator is these type of small communities. The Creator, the OAHSPE, it talks about us getting together in communities, small communities, and that's going to be the kingdom on the earth as these communities grow and grow and grow. Now, the title of the video tonight is "Spiritual Agnostics Do Not Escape," and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from the little the research that I had done on spiritual agnostics and what they have to say, what the OAHSPE has to say about people who are kind of spiritual agnostic. Is like they could be on the fence. They could be one way one day and then another way another day. A spiritual agnostic. And the Creator, we get information on how we should understand who these spirits are. I'm going to read a little bit from the research that I did. Also, I want to speak a little bit before I begin on if you're familiar with my channel, I like to comment on the situation in the world and the events of the current reality. And I don't have to tell you, brethren, that this is a time, we're in the cosmic era. We know that we're facing a great change. I used to refer to the events of the world, what was going on, as Pluto going into Aquarius, signifying a change that we have never seen before. This is a change of a lifetime, what we're going through. We, brethren who are alive right now, it just so happens have been chosen to be on the red star at the beginning of a arc cycle, the Cosmon era. The Creator calls it the Cosmon, Kosmon, and that means a time when basically our reality is going to change. Our reality, and you can see it happening right before your very eyes. And I follow these things religiously, and I still have a hard time wrapping my mind around what's going on with the earth, the events. I have a hard time believing that we could be told about something and see it happen right before our eyes, but it's like nobody can hear it. You would think that people would there would be more of you would think that there would be more of, how can I say, there would be more attention given to the OAHSPE, the revelations that OAHSPE is giving. You would think that it would be more prominent than what it is, but the OAHSPE, it remains largely unknown. And that is something I have a hard time with. I really have a hard time with that. I realize everybody's not like myself. It just so happens I've come to the end of my journey. I've been in religion. I've been this, I've been that. And the religion, and what I mean by religion is when you pray to a deity, when you have a deity at the head. A lot of religion there's a lot of good things, wisdom in the different religions. They pretty much have a common theme, unity of some sort, doing what is right, doing unto others. Those are pretty much like common themes, really, in all quote unquote religions. But the problem with the problem is that they lead you to worship another mortal, another man, another figure other than the creator. That's the biggest issue probably right there. I got no qualms with the righteousness in the Bible, in the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Torah, the whatever you want to, whatever spiritual book, Nag Hammadi, Third Testament, all the thousands of spiritual books out there. I have no problem with the righteousness in them. Biggest problem is when it tells me that I need to give worship to someone that the creator says not to, which is a man figure called a deity that men have made up and pray to and worship. That's the problem, biggest problem that I have with religion. And the creator also has warns against, let's just say, because we know as faithists that whatever it is that we worship, we will go to that we worship. If it be the Jesus Christ of the New Testament, when we go into our spirit self, we will go to that Jesus Christ and find out that we have served a deity. And the OAHSPE gives a good, clear picture of what that bondage, what that captivity is like. That's something that the world is not used to. They're not. The creator, one way that he separates the OAHSPE from the rest of the religions and the spiritual books in the world is he goes pretty much into detail what happens when a person leaves the earth and what happens to them according to their spiritual inclinations. If they were a Christian or Muslim or whatever, Catholic or whatever, that is who they will go. They will go to what they worship. And they don't realize that it will lead to a resurrection, but it's not the resurrection where you can ascend. You can't go higher. You can only go as high as the God that you worship. In other words, you stagnate. You stay in the same place. How would you like to be in the 6th grade for 50 or 100 or 1,000 years? You know what I mean? That is equivalent to what the creator says will happen. People will go to who they worship. And if that bondage, depending on how strong that bondage is of your mind to that deity, that's how long it will take in order before you come out of that bondage. That's the scariest thing. If there's anything concerning about the OAHSPE, is how the creator says that your consciousness don't leave you. The way you feel right now, you carry that with you. If you can't break right now and receive this light, if you can't break while you're, here on the earth, Don't think that the Creator, he even says, I wish I'd brought that verse up where he says, don't think that death all of a sudden makes you wiser. You faith this? Amen. We in a situation on the earth that is no joke. Now, I have a little update. I went down to the University of Arizona yesterday. Currently, I'm trying to introduce the OAHSPE to the University of Arizona. And I've been knocking on the door. I've been knocking on the door and knocking and knocking and knocking. And finally, I got in touch with somebody and he said, yeah, okay. You know, we talked for a while and he said, yeah, okay, I'm going to set up a meeting with you, the administrator, and, you know, I want you to come down and introduce your OAHSPE to the head of the religious department. And so I waited 2 weeks. I didn't hear anything from anybody. And I remember something my dad said. He said, I'll knock on the door a couple of times. And then after that, I'm going to bust the door down, you know. And so I was led to believe I got to use my initiative. I'm just going to have to pick up the ball, man, and run with it. That's the way it is in this world. If you don't use your own initiative, your motivation, chances are things ain't going to get done, man. You know, if you don't, and I think the Creator is the same way. He basically, he tell you to start moving, and then he jumps in and he helps you. The angels, you get the ball rolling first, and then they jump in and help you. You know, all you need to do is provide the faith. You know, that's like the ship. You build it, they jump in and power it. If you can just believe. So anyway, I went down there, right? I went down there to the, humanities building, where they do religious studies. And I spoke to a professor, right? I took the OAHSPE with me, and I took the 6-volume set that the Unknown Many have put out. The 6-volume set on the screen right here. I should have it on the screen. The 6-volume set. And by the way, anybody who wants the 6-volume set, which is a supplement to the OAHSPE, just let me know. I'll send it to you for free. Just don't take advantage of me. I'm not a rich brother. I'm just a brother who's rooting for the Creator. That if you get a hold of this, man, if you can receive this word, I just want you to have the joy that I have. I've never known joy like this, man. I've never known it, man, from reading, being able to study the OAHSPE like this. I have never known something like that. And I want to share it. I just want to share it with you, you know. And you get in contact with me, I'll send it to you for free. 6-volume set, man. Each book is 500 pages. And I guess I could give you an idea of what it looks like on the inside. And so anyway, I was talking to a professor at the University of Arizona Thursday. And you wouldn't believe it, man. You would not believe it. Okay, on the screen, I'm going to show you what the inside of the 6-volume set of the OAHSPE looks like. The topical study that the Unknown Many have put out. While I'm talking, I'm just going to show you what the inside of the OAHSPE looks like. So I'm talking to the professor at the University of Arizona, right? And he said, well, and I could tell just by reading his spirit, he didn't want nothing to do with it. He didn't want nothing. His spirit was not right, man. And I don't mean to sound harsh as a faithist. You know, faithists, they give you the benefit of the doubt. You know, they optimistic. They look for opportunities to build you up and not tear you down. You know, a faithist, they all about, man, being positive and you know, taking off the tech racks. They all about what is good and right for you, man, for you, to help you with your journey and hopefully that they'll rub off on you, and then you'll do it to somebody else, and then before you know it, the kingdom is here. You see? So I'm talking to the professor, man, and I was reading his spirit, and when you talk to people about spiritual things, number one, you hitting close to home. Just recognize you hitting close to home, brother, okay? And with this truth here, the OAHSPE is the most powerful truth I've ever come across. I mean, this is a nuclear weapon of word right here. So when people pick up that you can correct them, that you are going to correct them, they get defensive, man. See, what I'm going to talk about a little bit tonight is how one of the things that I didn't mention earlier on, the Creator, in this time, he's tearing down monarchies. That means governments and kingdoms where it's like centralized power that points to the few. He's tearing all of that is getting torn down, brethren. All of that. Okay, so anyway, that's what the OAHSPE looks like, the 6-volume set. Contact me. I give it to you for free. I give it to you for free, man, you know. So anyway, I'm talking with the professor, and me, I could see his spirit, his spirit ain't right. It ain't right. As soon as I started talking about why I was down there and what I've been trying to do to contact him, and then he started talking, and then I started talking, and he knew that I knew something I knew some things, okay? And that's one thing of faithists I believe they do when they talk to people. They try to hide, you know, I believe faithists try not to hit people. You know what I mean? With what they know, they try to, I don't want to say play dumb, but they what's a good word for they lowball it. You know, they realize that they can come across looking prideful. You know what I mean? So I realized this dude's a professor. I got to kind of string him along, you know. And I had the supplemental. I had one of the books with me on the screen right here. And I tried to draw him in. You know, I realized with men, you got to look out for their pride, man. You just got to look out, man. If you're going to get anywhere, you got to watch it. So I tried to come across as humble as I could be. Like, I'm not trying to tell you nothing, man, you know. And I had the books. I was carrying the books with me. I had the OAHSPE. I had one of the 6-volume set book with me. And he said, let me look at that book. And so he wanted to see the supplemental book, what I have on the screen. And I said, yeah, the Unknown Many have put it out, and they made it for people with short attention spans, you know. And so he opened it up, and he said, see, that right there, that's why I can't read this, you know. And I said, why? He said, the name Jehovah is spelled wrong, you know. And I said, do you know what Jehovah, the difference between Jehovah and Jehovah is? That's when, and my spirit said, Yaikwab, it's over with. It's over with. Here you are. You ain't nothing that commands any attention. This is what my spirit, now it may have been an angel, a false angel telling me this. But immediately I said, man, you know, you're sunk. You're sunk, man. You know, because I said, hey, do you know what the difference is between Jehovah and Jehovah? And he said, no. And I said, Jehovah means the God of very wickedness. I said, man, look, it ain't me making this up. Why don't you let me show it to you? Why don't you let me go on the computer right now and show it to you? Just let me show it to you. I said, don't the creator have a right to call himself what he want? And the dude, he closed the book. He gave it back to me. He said, well, no, man. He said, I've been studying language and histories and cultures and, etymologies. And basically what he was saying, look, man, you can't tell me nothing. That's what he was about in his 30s. White dude, And I you know how people blow you off? He started moving towards the door. You know what I mean? I was inside of some department, and then he started working his way towards the door, like I'm letting you out, And I said, look, man, I said, every new thing is hard to believe at first, I said, I'm just trying to introduce this to the university. You know what I mean? None of us know everything. And so the dude stopped again for a second and we started talking again, And I poured my heart out, man. I was trying to, just let him know, look, man, I said, look, I'll leave this here with you. I said, I'll leave this OAHSPE and this supplemental, this book here with you. If you just promise me you'll look at it, you'll give it attention, if you'll treat it, if you'll examine it. I said, if you'll just examine it, man. This is a professor at the University of Arizona. And he said, no. Basically what he said is, no, I know too much. I know everything. That was his spirit, man. I said, here, man, I'll just give it to you, If you promise me you'll consider this. And he was like, well, no, I'm busy and I've done all this studying and everything. And I just let my peace come back, man. And I left, But in his course of talking to me, he said that you can there are other professors that are going to be teaching courses here at the university during the summer. He said, you can go here, take this pamphlet, contact the religious studies department and email the professors and see if you can get audience with them. And so it was like a list of like 20 names of contacts. So I went home and I emailed all of them, asking for a meeting, asking for a hearing, if they would allow me to come down and introduce the OAHSPE to the university for study. And that's where I am right now. I'm waiting. But also I filled out a form where I could set up a booth. And now I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to do that now. Because I went home, I studied, I basically asked AI what I already knew in a sense. Does the creator want us to share our light? That's what I asked it. And the answer came back, it said no. But it wasn't like you should never talk about it. It was like the AI, the question that I asked, it was basically like, what we already know, don't proselytize, don't try to recruit. But it don't mean that you can't share your light, because how else is anybody else going to know? And so when I looked at that, I said, I might not even try. To share it with them. The system, the whole worldwide system it's structured to keep the light out so tight, man. The system is, here I am at a university where people are supposed to be open-minded. I come down here with this big old book. Obviously, there was some work put into this, It's been published, it's hardback, pretty to look at, a lot of big as an encyclopedia. Here I am, the University of Arizona, man, big open-minded, everybody's got open minds, will hear what you say, and it's no different, man. I'm sorry to say, I guess I got a lot to learn, man. The structure of the world that we live in, the Uzian structure, it is built perfectly to keep the light out. We got a hell of a struggle on our hands. We got a hell of a struggle on our hands. You fake this? I'm ready though. I'm ready. I believe in the Creator, and people will know about what we're talking about what we're trying to share with them. Now, real quick, before I go into the reading, I wanted to read about what a spiritual agnostic, what the OAHSPE has to say about spiritual agnostics, and according to the OAHSPE. But before I do, I want to comment a little further on what's the situation in the world today. Now, one of the things that we are right now, where you brethren are right now, one of the things that it's going to do, it's going to tear down monarchies. Monarchies is centralized government, where you have a king, you have one guy over a whole bunch of people. Basically, that's a monarchy. All right. Now, I think you can see on the screen right now, this is the Middle East, what they call the Middle East, the hot spot of the events that are going on in the world today. Now, these little nations, let me see if I can make it bigger. Make the screen bigger. Okay, hopefully that's a little better. Now, the situation over in the Middle East right now, the war that we're currently in, the hostilities, the conflagration that's going on right now, it has to do with the United States and Israel bombing Iran because Iran won't play ball. They say they don't want them to have nuclear weapons, and they say they're a threat, and really those are just lies to try to get in and subdue them, make them give up their resources, basically to take them over, Israel and the United States. Now, a lot of what's going on is concerning oil and gas too. Access to oil and gas, because the whole world, you're talking the whole world, brother. If there's a disruption in that, brother, you're talking about sinking the whole world. You know that? See, right now, it ain't much of a big deal to us. I would say over here in the West, in America, it ain't much of a big deal. Because we except for high gas prices and grocery prices too going up, we don't really feel it like we're gonna feel it. We got brethren over there in Asia, faithists. They are going through some real stuff right now. Faithists. Do y'all think about faithists in other worlds? Over there in Asia, Europe, Africa, they catching the first storms. Oh, I'm not even sharing the screen. Am I sharing? Okay, there we go. I think that's it. Now, when I read from Radiance Anthology the other day, remember that lesson called Ministry Message? And that angel said, and it was written in like the 1990s, I think. And the angel said, you got a storm coming your way. It's already up here in the heavens. And it's coming to you. I have to think that angel was telling us about what's going on right now, because it's getting, I don't mean to sound, believe me, man, I'm not trying to get people excited, man, But when the Creator, when he gives warning, he talks about light and dark cycles in the OAHSPE, and how the solar phalanx, it passes through regions of darkness, regions of light. Basically, that's the characteristic of an arc cycle. You have regions of darkness, regions of light. It's like going from, you go to one city and the weather is nice, you go to the next city and the weather is unstable and is erratic. And we in a situation right now, and from what I understand, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but there could be like, just like it on the earth, like say you're like, I'm here in Arizona and it could be raining in Ohio, but it ain't raining here. You know what I mean? Where I am, but it's raining over there. But it could be raining here and then not over there. And spiritually, that's true of the OAHSPE. There are the solar phalanx, the sun, and the planets. As we travel through ethereal worlds, we go through these areas of darkness, regions of light, and regions of darkness. You know what I mean? That's what's going on right now. Now, one of the things with the cosmic era, the creator, he says he's going to tear down all monarchies. He's going to tear them down, big ones and small ones. And we're going to be a community of people with no leaders. It's going to be shared responsibility. It ain't going to be no leaders, nobody taking the lead. It's going to be the brotherhood of man. Matter of fact, which reminds me, now I'm showing you the map right here. I'm going to come back to that. I ain't going to forget about that. It has to do with tearing down the monarchies. That's what's going on right now. With all that's going on with Iran bombing the Gulf Coast countries and the stoppage of flow of oil and water, with the disruptions. This is part of what's going on. The recent No Kings protests. Have you brethren been hearing about that? That's spiritual. I'm convinced there's something spiritual behind that. No Kings. Why, of all things, do they call it No Kings protests? Does anybody think about that? No Kings, man. Check out what the OAHSPE has to say about, now they called it No Kings protest, but that's consistent with the OAHSPE. What the creator is doing right now in the cosmic era, these upheavals, the events in the world right now, that goes along with what they call No Kings protests. Now I'm going to read a little bit and then I'm going to expound on it a little bit more. I haven't forgotten the topic of the study. I got a lot of reading to do. I hope the brethren can hang out with me tonight because I want to get to all of it. Now, this is concerning the No Kings protest. Check it out. It says, yes, according to OAHSPE, the cosmic era progressively does away with all monarchies. See, we witnessing that right now. You brethren looking at that right now. The cosmic era since 1848. We looking at this right now. One of the vibrations of the cosmic era is going to do away with all monarchies. Monarchies is like where you have a king. You have one man over a whole bunch of people. Yes, according to OAHSPE, the cosmic era progressively does away with all monarchies. And eventually, all forms of human government as known in Uz is destruction. One of the vibrations of the sons and daughters of the Creator, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm describing the, there's Uz, there's what are the other ones? Y'all know, I have a bad memory. What are these the sons, the seven, the listed? All I can think of is us right now. What a shame, man. There are like 7 of them. Y'all know what it is. If you can, put it on the screen so other brethren can see it. The 9 entities of our evolution, of our reality. Us is known as destruction. That's a terrible shame. I can't even think of any of the other 7 or 8. If y'all can remember them, put them in the chat so somebody can see them. It says, yes, according to OAHSPE, the cosmic era progressively does away with all monarchies and eventually all forms of human government known as us, as part of the divine shift to Jehovah's kingdom on earth. OAHSPE outlines a clear evolutionary progression of earthly governments. First on earth, monarchies, then republics, then fraternities. That's what the kingdom will be. It will be fraternities. Right now, we're in a republic, and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, undivided, with liberty and justice for all. The national anthem, we are a republic. The United States is a republic. And to some degree, so are other governments in the world. Then fraternities, that's the kingdom. That's the creator, the kingdom on the earth. The earth is going to move towards fraternities. We're going to be a fraternity of brethren. Somehow we're going to turn to fraternities. Even this little video, this little channel is a fraternity. Other brethren, same with them. These are little fraternities. Right now, that's the way I look at them. The other brethren that do content, they're really little fraternities. We're meeting together in little fraternities right now. Not in its final form. It says, first there were monarchies on the earth, the kingdom of men, then republics, which is supposed to be some type of representative government. It says the latter, which is fraternities, is now in its embryonic stage. And it's going to follow after what's going on right now does this work. These monarchies, these republics, these empires, they got to be put down. And then that's fertile ground for fraternities. Now, the only problem with all this is I wonder, man, sometimes when you clear in the field, I remember I used to work construction and they got this equipment that will clear that field clean, man. You get one of them D9, D10 dozers in there, and man, you just turn that thing on and put that shovel on the ground, and it will just clear everything out, man. You know what I mean? Creator, same way, man. These governments, these monarchies, these republics, they got to be cleared out. Now, the only problem is, what does the creator mean by clearing out? Because it sounds like some serious language to me. Now it says, monarchies represent the earliest, most hierarchical stage. Monarchies, hierarchy, meaning there are levels, you know what I mean? It's like, let's say you're in the military, you got to go to the lieutenant, and then the lieutenant goes to the captain, then the captain goes to the colonel goes to the admiral, then the admiral goes to the chief, that's a hierarchy. Creator says, brother, all that's got to be done away with. That's not my kingdom. First, you got to go to the Senate, the House of Representatives, then the Senate, then the vice president, then the president. That's a monarchy. The Creator said, that's got to go. That has got to go, because you see the fruit of it. Corrupt men will go after those corrupt men, people who love power. You know, the Bible, it says the children of this world, they're wiser than the children of light. When it comes to going after their own interests, they're better than we are. They're wiser. They got more energy. When it comes to going after power, the world will go for it, brother. They'll pay money for people in power to gain favor with them. See, monarchies, man. That's why I was showing you that map of the Middle East, Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. All those are monarchies, man. Absolute power over the people. Them kings, they ain't giving up that kingdom for nothing, man. Qatar, you know, those are families that rule over those areas. The British Empire, they installed them in order to keep that oil coming to them. So they install these ruling families in these areas over here. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait. They're puppets. They were puppets of the British Empire. Now look at what the Creator's doing. All of those countries, they've been shut down or being shut down as we speak. You see how the Creator do business? The monarchies of these countries right here. Do you know the Creator is shutting it down? Right before the Cosmic Era is shutting down these monarchies, and I think that's just the beginning. Right, doing it right in front of your face, man. And the world don't even know. They don't know. Monarchies represent the earliest, most hierarchical stage. Republics follow as an intermediate form, and fraternities, which are covenant-based communities of faithists, living in equality, look at that, with no kings, rulers or leaders, or votes, or majorities, or man-made laws. Fraternities are the higher stage that emerges and spreads in the Cosmic Era. How monarchies end in Cosmic Era Jehovah declares through his prophets in the book of Es, daughter of Jehovah, a core Cosmic Era revelation. Okay, how do monarchies end? My prophets shall say to the kings with mighty armies, behold, you are the weakest, and those that have no armies are the strongest, and their prophecies shall not fail. Kingdoms and nations judge their strength by rigid laws and standing armies. But Jehovah's non-resistant people, faithists, have neither kings nor armies nor rigid laws. Yet they prove strongest, meaning you faithists, y'all gonna prevail. We gonna prevail. You see the way of the world. Do y'all see the way of the world? See, at first, the way of the world, at least America, they like to front like they're good, honorable, full of character and dignity, honor and humility. They like to front like that. That's been the history of this country, I'm sorry to say. The Creator created Guatemala, America, to be a launch point for the kingdom. And then Louis Mong sent his adversaries over, remember? When he sent the pilgrims over, the Creator? And Louis Mong sent spies. Y'all remember that account? to find out what was going on over here. And they found out that the Creator was going to establish the kingdom here in Guatemala. And Louis Long, he subjugated it by sending emissaries to find out what was going on. He found out, then he sent the Quakers, or whoever they were, to subjugate what the Pilgrims were going to do. That's just a nutshell version of the history of the founding of America. I mean, not the founding, the natives were here, you know what I mean? But according to the OAHSPE, he was going to set up America to be the light to the world. And he got subjugated temporarily. That's where we are now, And our history has been, we like to front, America, we like to front. We like to make treaties, we like to shake hands and wear ties and shiny shoes. And then we break treaties, because the gods who have now I'm just speaking as a man, but false gods are wiser than men, and they know how to deceive us. False gods know how to deceive men, period. Have y'all ever seen that movie, To Serve Man? The Twilight Zone. Let me digress for a sec. This is kind of funny. It helps make my point. Have y'all ever seen, matter of fact, here, y'all remember this? Do y'all remember seeing this Twilight Zone movie? Let me bring it up. To Serve Man. Do y'all ever remember this movie? On the screen here? To Serve Man, right? And it was the story of these aliens. They came to Earth, right? Now, you look at this. This is a picture of what America has done to the whole world. Now, you look at this alien. He looked like he wouldn't hurt a flea. Look at it. You look at his eyes. I wouldn't hurt you. I am only here to help you. We realize you need help on the earth. Now, do we look like we would hurt anybody? He taking advantage of the way he looked. He know you're going to look at him and say, oh man, I could trust this dude. America did the same way. They make treaties. They make contracts. They give their word. They gain your trust. This has been the history of our nation. And then if you've seen this movie here, that title, To Serve Man, see, let me set it up. I didn't set it up. This here alien came to the earth, and he came promising man a paradise. Okay? And he won their trust. They took him at his word. Here he is before the United Nations, telling them what's good. I wanted to bring it up, but I can't. I can't. Hold on a second. So anyway, he was he went to the United Nations, and he was acting like, we're gonna, on our planet, everything is all good. The crops are 100%, the weather is always perfect. You know what I mean? His planet, right? And then he gained their trust. And so they started flying to his planet, They trusted him, so they started flying to his planet, spaceships and all that. And nobody was coming back. So that encouraged other people to go to the planet as well, right? And then there was this one woman. Matter of fact, let me see if I can play a little bit of it, because it was funny. I probably can't bring it up. There was this one woman, right? I can't find it. Shoot. I wanted to show that part where I wanted to show this part where this one woman found out that, nope, what am I doing here? Hold on a second. Where am I at here? Okay, forget it. Anyway, this one woman, she found out that the name of that book that they had brought to the earth for people to read, talking about how good it was where they were, it was called To Serve Man. And that lady found out it was a cookbook. So they were eating people. You know, they were eating people. And at the end of the movie, it shows a woman running up to her boyfriend or her husband, or as he was getting on the plane, and she yelled out to him, "Hey, don't get on that plane. That book is a cookbook." And then the alien, he turned and grabbed the dude and threw him on the ship. And so it's like, that's a picture of the deception that men do to one another. I can't find the screen that I had this up on. So deception, they use deception. These aliens, they came, they used deception. People believed them, got them to the point. And then when the jig was up, they showed their true self. Now, fast forward to America, same thing. For all these years, the United States led the world, promoting themselves, honest, dignified. We got character. We're very moral. We're a Christian nation. But now that they see that the other nations are lining up and they doing business amongst themselves, our true colors are coming out. We starting to do things by force now. See, just like that alien on To Serve Man, is that when that woman found out the name of that book the aliens had brought, making the world think it was on how to have a, and then the when the jig was up, then they turned to force. And it's the same way in our situation. Now our country, the United States, is turning to force because other nations are beginning to do business with themselves. They beginning to you know what I mean? They're finding out they don't need us as much. So now we just decide, well, we just going to just start taking stuff. But they don't know, ultimately, it's the Creator bringing the kingdom. And so these people, the Gulf countries, is kind of starting with them. They got monarchies there. The British Empire set them up, and they kept the oil going. They kept the oil going to Europe. The only problem is that those kingdoms, they oppress their people. You know how it is with men's governments. The kings, the rulers, they're going to serve themselves and their family. And that's what these kingdoms are famous. That's what they're known for. Qatar, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain. These are ruled by families. They're monarchies. And the Creator is saying the time for all that has come to an end. Power's got to go to the people now. The world calls it Pluto going into Aquarius, but the Creator calls it going through a time of aging and Gia. And it just so happens to be happening right now in the change of a 3,000 year period of time called the Cosmic Era. It says kingdoms and nations judge their strength by rigid laws and standing armies, but Jehovah's non-resistant people, Papists, have neither kings nor armies nor rigid laws. Yet they prove the strongest. In the book of Jehovah's Kingdom on Earth and related sections, kings and queens ultimately deserted their thrones and went and dwelt with the poor, meaning when they see somehow, I don't know how it's going to come to pass, but rulers, powerful people, they're going to see the Papists. I don't know how that's going to come to pass, man. They're going to see our kingdom. And they're going to that's what's going to make them want to relinquish their riches, their power. It's something about our kingdom, man. You know, I wish I could see it in its fullest form. But it's something that's going to make people give up their own self-interest. If you brethren ever read OAHSPE and you read that part where the Ethereans put on the show, do y'all remember that? The Ethereans, they put on the show for, I forget, I think it was Ahura, or I forget the account. The Ethereans, they gave, I think it was Ahura, that some angel, Etherean angel, was trying to get him to, there was this one fallen king or god or something like that, and he had a little plateau in heaven, and he didn't want nobody coming around messing things up. He just wanted to hold on to his little kingdom, right? The people were idle, they were stagnant, they just sat around playing with colors and sounds, you know, it says. And one of the Ethereans came and said, look, man, he said, it's a much better reality, man, than this, much better. And then he said, look, here, let me show you. You invite all your people, and we're going to put on a show for you. You know, you remember that in the OAHSPE? And it was supposed, the Ethereans had barely got started, man, and everybody wanted to be a part of the Etherean kingdom. Do y'all remember that part? I mean, they bum rushed the Ethereans, you know? After like what, the second day? The Ethereans, they came, they put on a little show, man, you know? Do y'all remember that? And them people who were in bondage to another plateau, to a false god, and they bum rushed them, man, you know, to be a part of the Etherean kingdom. Seems like something similar is what's being said here. The time that we're in right now, something ultimately is going to cause kings and queens to desert their thrones and go and dwell with the poor. Hoab! I'm looking at the screen. Yeah, thanks, Nazarene. Yeah. Read about Hoab's kingdom sometime, man. I haven't been paying attention to the chat, man. Thank you, brother, for joining me. I'm talking about what the Creator is doing right now. The Cosmic Era. I'm on the part right now where he's overthrowing monarchies. I've been talking a little bit about the Gulf Coast countries, how they're known for being a monarchy. I'm going to put them on the screen real quick again. These Gulf Coast countries, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait. I don't know if Oman is part of that. I know Yemen isn't. And the Creator, he overthrowing them now. Because we come to the time He's putting away these forms of government. He's putting them away now. That's what you see him doing. The Creator is doing his own no kings protests. No kings. It says faithless colonies spread as the chief foundation of the state and of the world. Faithless colonies. But none of these colonies were bound by written laws, nor had any of them leaders or masters, nor any government save the light of Jehovah. Man, you think about that. I know that when I used to work, I have to be honest, man. If there's one thing I hated about my life, is having to go to work. I hated that with all my heart, man. I hated it. Why? Because it was somebody over you who was going to take advantage of you. It was somebody over you that was going to take. I remember, I'll tell you a little story, man. I used to drive a truck, you know. I showed up at this one company, right? And for some reason, they got overly excited when I was filling out the application, and one dude came in. He said, you need a job? You need a job? And I said, yeah. I said, I'm a Class A. And that dude, he treated me like I was a superstar. You know why? Because I'm a big brother. That meant that he was going to work me like a dog. I didn't know at the time I felt special. And he put me on a route. He had me going down to San Francisco. You know what I was doing? You know what I was doing? I was taking them, you know those treadmills? Treadmills? Do you know they had me delivering them treadmills to San Francisco? Do you know what San Francisco is famous for? Stairs. 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 How was that treadmill going to get into the apartment? You were going to pull it up them stairs. You see how men do? They're going to take advantage of you. And man, it made me hate my life. I hated my life. I hated it, man. Because you couldn't trust nobody. I don't mean to sound harsh. Those brethren I met with on Thursday night, they was nothing harsh, man. It seemed like they were totally free of the tet rack. I felt like the only one who had tet racks meeting with them brethren. They were just as joyful, man, and positive as could be. I just felt like, man, they were from another planet, them brethren I met with on Thursday. I mean, but in this kingdom, they'll take advantage of you. And so wherever, I mean, that's the way I felt, like I'll get taken advantage of. And then I would deliver them damn things, take them up them stairs. They would never tip you. The people would never tip you, you know. Yet you supposed to, I used to think, so you want me to leave you 5% at a restaurant for giving me a plate? But here, this 200-pound machine, and I can't even get a piece of fruit afterwards. You know what I mean? That's the way it is when you're in a system that can take advantage of you. So when I read stuff like this, no leaders, no masters, no rulers, no kings, no queens, I jump and shout for joy, man, because that means the Creator, where his kingdom is where people don't take advantage of you. For me, man, that's like a glass of cold water. That means rest. That means I can trust not having someone whose own interest is to use me and then throw me away. It says, Man was without a government such as man's government. Man was without a government such as man's government. And this was the next higher condition that came up after republics, forms of government. America itself was reserved as a model for cosmos. It was never intended to have gods, lords, saviors, nor kings or queens. The founding of its republic rejected the divine right of kings, inspired by Jehovah's angels as a stepping stone toward a fraternal order. What this means practically in the era of trouble and darkness, as described in the previous response on Uzians versus Faithus. Well, America was never meant to be a republic based on the divine right of kings. America was never supposed to be that way. The Uzians are worldly people tied to old systems. They cling to their governments, including monarchies and republics, which grant licenses to sin for profit and policy. Their systems decline internally: crime, corruption, bribery, self-destruction, while Jehovah withdraws holy protection. And so it's talking about what's going on today. What's going on today, man? The more evil abounds, the lower the spiritual grade. The Creator, he withdraws his angels. That's how you can bomb a school full of children, of little girls, like they did over there. That's, if you want to know how that can happen, that's what happens when the Creator withdraws his holy protection. That's what's going on right now. Right as we speak. It says Faithists are called out of Uz to build Jehovah's kingdom in separate colonies. That's what we are right now. We're like a little separate colony. You know, my channel, other brethren's channels, brethren all over the world, other Faithists, wherever they meet, we like little colonies now. These, a little fraternity. It says these fraternities operate by covenant, reciprocity, and direct inspiration from Jehovah. No earthly rulers, no armies, no castes, meaning rich, middle class, poor. Jehovah states plainly in Cosmin, as in former cycles, I sent leaders and commanding gods. So in Cosmin, I shall not send either earthly leaders or a worshipful God or a Lord. And that's where the world gets stuck. They got to have a worshipful God or Lord. They just so used to it, they can't break from that deity. They won't break from him. They will not let go. It's the most amazing thing about the human psyche. It's like a woman that will not leave an abusive husband. She will, in the world, they look and they say, why didn't she leave him? I shall not send either earthly leader. In Cosmin, I shall not send either earthly leaders or a worshipful God or Lord, rulers, kings, queens, emperors, even later leaders face bondage in the heavens until they undo their tyranny and their lowest subjects rise first. So going back, who knows how long, all these leaders that you read about, all these corrupt, tyrannical leaders, who knows, man? Some have probably been at it for thousands, hundreds of, well, not maybe not hundreds, thousands of years, but for, well, who knows, undoing what they have done. You got to undo what you've done, man. When you think about it, man, there are some gods who have fallen. They still have not been able to resurrect. They have stagnated all this. You know what I mean? If I'm not mistaken, man, the Creator is unsentimental. That's one thing we got to get through our minds, man. The Creator is unsentimental, man, because the choice is yours. You can make the resurrection, or you don't have to. He don't force you. And it's really nothing. We don't carry a message of fear. Faithists don't. We root for everybody. We rooting for you, man. We want you to join us at the party. I want you to join me, man. I want you to join me, man. I'm going to do my best to join you. I hope we make it together, man, to that better world. Where everybody, remember that song where everyone knows your name? The Creator, remember, he said to imagine that world, man. If you ever been around a whole bunch of people that you really enjoyed being around, I'm sorry, man, but I believe that's what I believe that's what it's all about. I believe that the Creator, he ain't nothing but good, man. He's good all the way around, and he's fair. All this stuff we talking about here, it's fair. It's fair, man. Even the orphans that get treated the way they get treated in this world, and killed and murdered. Don't you know the Ethereum nurses come and get them? The Ethereum nurses come and get them, man. You ever read that account in the OAHSPE? I mean, it's like, what did it says something like the Ethereum nurses. It's something, it has to do with their boundless love, man. For cast away little ones, orphans, man. You know what I mean? You can't say nothing about the Creator, man. You just can't. Radiance Anthology, that book I be reading from, man, that's a rat killer. That's a rat killer, man. It's all good, man, in Radiance Anthology. Anyway, that's it for No Kings. I'm way behind. I was going to go to the study that they did on Wednesday night, the study that we did on the Tetracts. A brother put it together. I'm so far behind, it ain't even funny. I was going to go and read this, look at this for a little bit. Good brother Harkins, he did a study. Let me see if I can. Let me go through this, and I'm going to try to go through this. You guys got to join us on the Wednesday study, man. I mean, we eating some food. We eating some cereal, man. You got to come on the Wednesday study, man. We need to eat food, man. We need to eat our own food. We need to get with each other, man. We need to get with our own kind. This is a study that the brother did. It's called The Fickle Accusative Finger of the Conspiracy Theorists. Now, I can't explain the title fully. I'm going to try to go through the reading. You know what? Doggone it, man. I forgot to put the link in the room, man, in case anybody wanted to come up and talk. I didn't even think to put the link in the room, man. Hold on a second. Let me put the link in the room, and if anybody wants to come up, all you got to do is click on the link. If I say something and you want to comment on it, just click on that link and I'll bring you on. This is called The Fickle Accusative Finger of the Conspiracy Theorists. Now, this is a study we do every Wednesday. You brethren are invited. At the end of go back to the beginning of the video, I had put the information up on the time and the contact number for the study we do on Wednesday nights. Now, I'm going to just read through it. I might touch on a couple of points, but what I'm trying to do is see if I can get somebody interested. If I read something, I want to try to get you interested on commenting on it. If I read something and you want to comment on it, click on the link. Click on the link and come on and speak your piece. You know, all you got to do is just come in peace and come with a mind to say something. Say something to encourage brethren to the best of your ability. Now, shoot, I wish I could make this screen bigger. I hope you brethren can see that. Can someone put a 1 if you can see this okay on the screen? Can you see, can you brethren read that? Can someone let me know if you can, if that's readable? Can you brethren see this on the screen? Type of 1, just type of 1. Type of 1 if you can see this on the screen. If it's readable. If anybody's in here. If you can see that. Okay, thanks, Keon. Thank you. Okay, let's read it together. It says, the impact of instant communication in us. We live in the era of instant communication, a time when the winds of us, remember, us is destruction, carry information to the farthest corners of the earth, even in the most desolate rural areas where the basic comforts of corporeal life are missing. The digital screen endures. From the poorest village to the densest city, the world is now bound by a web of light and shadow, the internet. The information flowing through these channels is a chaotic mixture. It is the truth. It is the untruth. It is the half-light of dawn and the deep black of the pit. It is a spectrum of deception. Now, a note about this, about AI, it is so true, man. You know, it can be used for good or for evil. It can deceive. When you're talking about input into your mind and technology, that is a very serious thing. Now, I love the OAHSPE because the creator, the truth of the OAHSPE is a never-changing template. And so when you go to AI and you are doing research on the OAHSPE, if you have a good foundation, a good understanding, it's going to be hard for AI to deceive you. I know I've seen where it's not perfect. There's some things that you have to be careful of when you use AI. But for the most part, if you are even a little bit familiar with the OAHSPE, it's not going to hurt you. AI is not going to hurt you. It says, if we assume there are architects of confusion, we must ask, who are the dispatchers of this discord? They are mortal men and women, yet they act with motives that mirror the heavens they inhabit. Their intent ranges from the holy to the hellish. So the people behind AI, you don't know what their motivation is. It says, while the world cries out for discernment and critical thinking, these virtues are lacking among the masses. This is not a failure of the Spirit's capacity to learn, but of the mortal systems of education. Population has been systematically dumbed down by those who sit in the seats of power. controlling the flow of information to keep the soul anchored to the earth. You will see that there is a repetition of the law governing conspiracies. This repetition is very different from others because this essay explores the intersectionality between the seen and the unseen, and how the unseen holds sway over the seen for us. That should be US, not UZ. Holds sway over the seen for us, should be us, US, not us. Let's explore this point in finer detail. The lying on earth is the echo of the lying, L-I-E, in the lower heavens. The division among brothers is the reflection of the discord among the unresurrected. The darkness of information is the shadow of the Druids who have not yet seen the Ethereal light. The fickle finger points outward to blame others, but the faithless knows to look upward to understand the source, and inward to find the peace of the All-Highest. The digital age and the modern condition. Age, the digital darkness and the modern condition. We live in an unprecedented era of instant communication. Information now crosses continents in fractions of a second. Even in remote regions where basic infrastructure may be unreliable, smartphones connect individuals to a vast digital web. This connectivity, while extraordinary, in potential, has given rise to a global condition marked by fragmentation, suspicion, and escalating conspiratorial thinking. The digital age, also known as the information age, is a period characterized by the rapid expansion of information technology and the internet. It presents a spectrum of information truth, half-truths, distortions, fabrications, and deliberate deception. It should also be pointed out that the digital age brings families, friends, businesses, associates, students, and new acquaintances closer together, regardless of where they are in the world. While some information disseminators act with integrity, others manipulate narratives of power, for power, profit, or ideological dominance. Within this environment, discernment has become both essential and endangered. Discernment has become both essential and endangered. Hence the challenge, dilemma, and conundrum, all wrapped in one package. This essay argues that the rise of conspiracy culture is not merely sociological or technological. Rather, it is a manifestation of deeper spiritual and psychological condition described in OAHSPE cosmology as aging, a spiritual, psychic, psychological, social, and intellectual darkness that clouds perception. In this digital age, misinformation acts as a spiritual smog, distorting not only facts, but consciousness itself. So, if I may digress, darkness is more comprehensive than you may think. It takes on a whole lot of forms, especially in the technological age, because it has to do with information. And so that can morph into the TV, the computer, radio, information systems. If they're not treated with a high level of discernment, then the effect can, what's a good word for when it's spiritual like that, where you can have your foundation for understanding distorted, then that's a darkness it's a type of, you know what I mean? That's like a type of evil that the effects of it, I don't know how to put it into words. You can imagine the effects of that type of deception. It says, the fickle accusative finger is a defining symptom of this condition. It is the impulse to point outward toward governments, institutions, secret societies, or ideological enemies rather than inward toward the inherited vices that govern the self. So he's saying that as in our condition, we tend to blame anything other than, we tend to look and put the blame outside of ourselves when for our shortcomings, for our deception. I mean, I think he's saying that we have a tendency to put the blame on something else for our shortcomings at times, even when it comes to our understanding. It's up to us to get a good understanding of what we believe, what we say is true. I think is what he's saying here. It's easy to point at something outside of ourselves because we as faithists, we do have a degree of inner light that it keeps us from mortal deception, serious deception, I think. And plus, the OAHSPE is so simple in what it says. I mean, the template of the OAHSPE is real basic. We know what the tetracts are. We know that what the Creator wants us to do so far as to control, to put away, to deal with ourself, the lower vibration. We understand that, and that's 90% of the OAHSPE. And when you know that, then it's hard to come deception, no matter where it comes from. It's going to be harder to deceive us. The law of reflection, as above, so below. Central to faithist cosmology is the metaphysical law, as above, so below, so below, so as above, so below, as below, so above. This principle asserts the earthly phenomena mirror. This principle asserts that earthly phenomena mirror atmospheric realities. What manifests on the corporal plane reflects activity in the lower spirit realms. From this perspective, the chaos of digital conspiracies is not accidental. The division, accusation, and deception seen in online discord mirror the discord among unresurrected spirits in the lower heavens. Lying on earth is an echo of lying in the lower planes. Social fragmentation reflects atmospheric fragmentation. So, in other words, we see war going on in our reality right now. We see a conflict going on in which the whole world is going to be affected. The whole world. When you start talking about energy shortages, The whole world is going to be affected. If we lived in one of those nations where they are having energy blackouts, then you'll know, like nations where you can only turn on or use the power for so many hours a day. I don't know if there are any nations that are having to do that right now. I think there are some, but now imagine that that's us. See, we're not immune. You know what I mean? Social fragmentation. It's a form of social fragmentation of what's going on. And the brother here is saying it begins in the spiritual, as above, so below. This is not to deny human agency. Mortals act, mortals choose. However, in states of spiritual heaviness, individuals become susceptible to lower influences. The conspiratorial mind then may be understood as a psyche resonant with atmospheric discord. Thus, conspiracy culture becomes not merely a political pathology, but a spiritual mirror. The 7 tetrarchs, inherited characteristics of human nature. To understand why accusation is so compelling, we must examine the 7 tetrarchs, 7 inherited traits that bind humanity to lower consciousness. These vices are not personality quirks, they are structural anchors of spiritual gravity. Meaning these characteristics here, it's like the more the stronger it is in our soul, then the more effective it is to keep us weighed down, so to speak. The stronger these vibrations are in our spirit, in our soul. It's the equivalent of you want to go to the 4th floor, but the elevator, it won't let you get off at the 1st floor. You want to go to the 4th floor. You know what I mean? But the tetrarchs, they will not let the elevator go up until you dissolve. The more you dissolve them, the lighter your density, our density. This is a spiritual thing. I don't fully understand it. I do, but I don't. I get an idea, but I don't understand the manifestation of these things. I do believe it though. The 7 inherited tetrarchs, the self, vanity, the delusion of individual supremacy, self-importance. Greed, which is appetite, the insatiable desire for possession, power, or validation. Lust, misdirected power, the corruption of creative force into selfish gratification. Anger, war, the impulse to attack, dominate, or destroy. So you see how strong this tetrarch is in the world today. The impulse to attack, dominate, or destroy. Deceit, falsehood, the weaving of half-truths to preserve ego structure. Now, when you just keep lying, because it's a form of, you know what I mean? It's a form of embellishing. It's a form of making yourself look better than what you would. It's a form of self-glorification. That a lot of people, they deceive to put themselves in a better light. Sloth, which is inertia, spiritual heaviness and resistance to growth. Envy, accusation, the fickle finger is seeking to diminish others, the tetrarchs, the 7 inherited tetrarchs. We all got them. And so now we see one of the purpose, one of the purposes of the earth is for us to work on these things. And as a faithist, and our ability to consider the spiritual and to live according to what our inner light dictates to us, then we know that we can, these things are like anchors on the soul, like the brother was saying, anchors on the soul. He says the tetracts operate a psychological, and these tetracts operate on psychological and spiritual levels. When dominant, they distort perception. The accusative finger becomes the externalization of internal fragmentation. So if it's strong in you, your tetracts, then it pretty much will show. You'll exhibit one or the other of these things. You'll exhibit them. You'll be short-tempered. You'll be accusing brethren. You'll be prioritizing yourself. That's how they externalize, they manifest. It comes out in the self. The self takes precedence. You can tell when the tetracts are strong and somebody is, and even when you're in the world, and people, you listen to people, and the world, sorry to say, many people, they are self-interested. They're interested in things that concern them. They're self-focused. And you would have to think most people don't realize that. So now you see the seriousness of what we are up against. This, as faithists, to remember that these things exist. And every day when you talk and you're interacting with somebody or whatever, to remember that these things can strike you at any moment. And then it gets a hold of you, and then you just go down that road. It's like the Creator, he's telling us he keeps reminding us of these things so that on a daily basis we can catch ourselves until selflessness, that sort of thing, it becomes constitutional in us. It becomes second nature, so to speak, where you no longer are self-interested only and always. The tetracts, a framework for psychological diagnosis. It says to understand why the accusative finger is so prevalent. In other words, the accusative finger, why the inclination to point at somebody else is so prevalent, we must examine the tetracts. In OAHSPE, they represent the four heads of the beast within us. The power of the earth, the power of the self, the power of greed, and the power of war. As a framework for clinical diagnosis, the tetracts provide a map of social and individual fragmentation. The fragmented self, when the tetract is misaligned, the individual loses their center. They become fickle, shifting their loyalties and their truths based on whichever Lord Spirit, Druja, is currently whispering in their ear. The personality disorders as a spiritual imbalance. Number 2, many modern personality problems, narcissism, paranoia, chronic aggression, can be viewed through the lens of a tetract-heavy psyche. When a person is dominated by the earthly beast, they lose the ability to empathize, seeing others only as tools or enemies. Now, the brother who wrote this study is an elder, and he has a degree in some form of psychology, and he is a faithist, so he's able to give good understanding on the tetracts. I should have mentioned that earlier. When a person is dominated by the earthly beast, they lose the ability to empathize, seeing others only as tools or enemies. Social fragmentation. A society is simply a collection of tetracts. And if you think about that, that's one reason why we need people, because they are the ultimate sculptors for us. People, because if you, how you respond to them, it's like they chip away at you or they smooth you over. People are a reflection of how we come across, and we can judge, we can refine ourselves. People are the ultimate refiners, man. Some are hard to deal with. That means that you got to work harder on that vibration within you that's causing you to feel that way. And usually people usually get at you by hitting a nerve. You know what I mean? Something that you were offended. The world is famous for that, man. And it's at critical levels in the world, man. You don't even have to, you can be on your best behavior dealing with people and you still piss them off. You know what I mean? It's like, especially it seems in America, that you can offend people for the least of things, man. It seems like we've been so spoiled. The tetracts are, I don't want to sound judgmental, man, but the vibration, you say the slightest thing wrong, you offend in the least bit. Brother, these are tetracts in people. These are people who are going to be weighed down. They're going to be weighed down and then wonder why when it's too late. If spirituality is important to you, we will learn about the tetracts and be on guard, put up a defense against these things, man. Be in constant prayer, asking for the Creator to strengthen our shards, please, against these things. Going out in public, man, I don't want to sound kooky, man, but down here in Tucson, the flavor has changed from the people I deal with. I really think I could say the flavor of people down here coming from California, it is different. In other words, it seems the tetracts are stronger here in Tucson, Arizona. They're really strong everywhere. But I have to admit, man, that they're pretty strong here. In Arizona, there ain't nothing to do. It's landlocked. You can't go to the ocean, All you can do is walk around with an umbrella. It ain't nothing to do except go get something to eat somewhere. I don't want to sound harsh. And so when you get people locked in like that, I think it's like breeding ground for the tetracts to take over. That's what we up against, If a majority of the power, if the majority of a population is operating from their lower animalistic centers. The result is the accusative finger, a culture of blame, conspiracy, and hatred that serves false gods of the lower heavens. You know, another thing here in Tucson, man, the drivers here, it seems that's one of the strongest indicators to me that Tetracts have a lot of power. You know, they want you, I mean, it's even worse in California, if you ask me. The way people drive down here, and I think people get frustrated, man. You know, when you just work, you ain't got nothing to look for. Man, imagine, you know, that's the situation the Uzians are in, man. You have nothing to look. You can't live according to hope, the hope of making a resurrection, a better world. This is all you know. You're on a schedule. You work, maybe get off, a couple of drinks, do the same thing the next day. That's not living, man. That ain't living. To just work, hoping that you can retire for 6 7. I don't know how the Uzians do it. How you can live without the hope, the faith, without trying to find the creator, man. I don't know how you can do it. I don't know how you can do it, man. The Tetracts as the anatomy of captivity. In our clinical spiritual study, we can view the Tetracts not as traits to be managed, but as the Anromanius. Anromanius is mentioned in the OAHSPE, a false god who has to do with the lower vibrations of the Tetracts. I don't know if he created it or how he figures in, but Anromanius has to do, I think the creator called Anromanius his enemy. In other words, the lower nature. I think Anromanius represents the lower nature. We can view the Tetracts as not as traits to be managed, but as the Anromanius grip on the human soul, mind, and heart emotions through the sevenfold vices of the beast. They form the framework of our spiritual sickness, the root of all personality disorders and social fragmentation. Please remember that when the fickle accusative finger points at a neighbor, it is one of these vices or grips speaking. Our journey is not to balance them, but to transcend them entirely. This is one of the many systems the Creator has designed to account for eternity. These 7 vices can be summarized in the following 4 heads. The 4 heads of the Tetract. Number 1, the self, the ego. The root of all narcissism and the need to be right. This head fills the conspiracy theorist's desire to feel superior through secret knowledge. Secret knowledge, man. Greed, the appetite. Not just for money, but for attention, energy, and validation. War, the aggression. Number 3, war. The impulse to attack, to divide us from them, to divide us from them, and to find an enemy to blame for the soul's own lack of peace. The earthbound and material, the obsession with corporal proof and worldly power, which blinds the soul to ethereal light. Now, the thing that comes to my mind real quick is what happened at that university. When I was speaking to that professor, and I was telling him I wanted to introduce the university to the OAHSPE. And the spirit that came off of him was He's a professor. He doesn't want nobody rocking the boat. And thank you, but no thank you, even if it would be the best thing that people have ever heard of. And people are like that, earthbound. When I first got down here to Tucson, I was driving. I came across this sign. It said Community of Light. And I stopped and read it. And it came across like they were saying they were light workers. They were light workers, right? And I got excited. I was like, hot dog, man. They might be open. They might be faithless, or they might be ready for it. And so I went to the service the following Sunday, and it was a kingdom of women. It was a kingdom of about 7 women, and they had established a little following of about 40 or 50 people. And at lunchtime, I asked to speak to the lady who led the session. And I started talking to her about the OAHSPE and how we had gotten new light, and that the light workers were being empowered by the revelations in it. And I wanted to give her a copy of it and just read it. I told her I wasn't trying to take over her gathering or anything like that. I wanted to share the light with her, and then I wanted to walk away. That's what I told her. If I didn't decide to join the meeting, I wanted her to at least know about the light. This was an older white lady, probably in her 60s, right? And so she let me give her one of the 6-volume sets that I had on me. One of the 6-volume sets. It said, this is a supplement to the OAHSPE to point you to places in the OAHSPE that I hope get your attention. She said, okay, I'll look at it and I'll call you. And so a week later, somebody called me. He said, okay, you can come by and pick up the book. And I said, well, what did she think? The guy said, she didn't say anything. She just told me to call me and tell you to come and pick up the book. So I went down there and I talked to her. Or no. I just went down and picked up the book and left. And then she called, or somebody called. And he said, well, we read the book, we studied it, we did a class on it, and we found that it wasn't for us. You see? And so even a kingdom of a few people, men will not let it go. A man will not if he gets a little gathering, a little following, he will not let that kingdom go. Even if it's only a couple of people, he will fight like hell to hold on to that. If a man gets a little gathering, that's why it's got to be torn. Monarchies, they got to be torn down. Because when they get a following, even a little following, you can see it even in relationships on a micro level, when people break up with one another. I'm telling you, man, it happened to me. It's happened to you, brethren. You break up with another human being. The feelings that come over you, the loss of affection, the loss of fidelity, it's a dangerous feeling, man. It's very dangerous. And people play with one another. Men against women, women against men. They play with one another. They play with that stuff, play with emotions. They play in a relationship, man. No, if you're the jealous type, then that's the nerve they are going to keep hitting on when that tech rack in them, whenever it moves them. That's why sometimes life is a dangerous thing, man. People will not let go of their kingdom, no matter how small or how big it is. They will not let it go. That lady she was in charge of that little fellowship. She wasn't about to let Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because again, the creator, he stresses that people are on their own time schedule. They're on their own schedule. You just can't do anything about it. Just give thanks that your time has come. Just give thanks that your time has come to begin your resurrection. That's all you can do. And root for people whose time has not come. Just root for them. I mean, earnestly root for them, man. Because your soul, it should be testifying of the glory of the blessing to come to you when it come time for you to go into the spirit. So your inner light, it should be thrilled, man. Our inner light, we should be knowing a joy that the world just don't know. And it make you root for the world. It make you root for them, man. You come, you make it too, man. We want you to make it too. But we can't force you. Clinical manifestation, the pathology of the beast. Clinical manifestation, the pathology of the beast. When we examine social fragmentation, remember social fragmentation, another form of the manifestation of the tetrarchs working in people. When we examine social fragmentation, political unrest, social injustice, and personality problems through this lens, we see that the modern psychology calls disorders are at their core manifestations of the tetrarchs. Whether it is hideous desire for outright wickedness, these are symptoms of a soul that has surrendered its will to the Lord self. The accusative finger is the primary symptom of that surrender. By blaming the conspirator, the government, or the hidden cabal, the individual avoids the painful but necessary work of slaying their own tetrarchs. So in other words, it's like when you look at the world and you see the things that go on in the world, the hidden, the evil, the darkness that gets out, the people who are doing these things, they're going to deny it. And even if you prove, you get evidence, they just double down. I mean, when things are done in this world, I mean, people can do some pretty dark things, man. And even when they get found out, they still deny it. The brother here is saying that's the level the power of the tetrarchs can get to. The self becomes all important, man. It becomes a consuming fire. The self. He says, as Fragapati demonstrated, there is no compromise with the lower heavens. There is no compromise with the lower heavens, man. One does not negotiate with the darkness of atmosphere. One rises above it to overcome the digital aging and the confusion of this age. We must recognize the tetrarchs within ourselves and begin the arduous work of casting them out. When we grasp this elusive insight, we soon see how the tetrarchs often contaminate the digital age and social media itself. So that's a good point, man. The Creator said, or ultimately the Creator saying it, like in the Bible, it said we're going to come to a time, knowledge, it was going to increase. But along with that, people are going to manipulate it. Technology, knowledge, information systems. It's going to be, men are going to use it for corrupt practices. And the tetrarchs in them was going to serve them. And it was going to manifest in their creation of AI. But it seemed like the Creator has saved us in the sense that tetrarchs can only go. The tetrarchs can only, they are still subject to people, to the inclination of people. The tetrarchs, like when we want to read and research and we use an AI, is subject to a source, like when we want to look at the OAHSPE or read something about it or whatever, there's very little Tetrax can do to distort the OAHSPE, although it can through the use of language, but the OAHSPE is so basic that it will be hard to distort the message of it. The brother is saying here that digital AG information systems, based on the vibration that the creator of the material that he's putting out is under, is the level of darkness that can also go out. Okay, now let's see how much we got left, because I think I'm going to pick up next week. So you see all this that we got next, or we got that I'm going to be going over. There's a lot to this study, and I'm going to just break it up and just go little bit by little bit. Next week, I'll pick up on this part here where it says discussion questions for the group. In the Wednesday study, we somewhere farther along than the part I'm showing you. So if you want, I can scroll a little bit. You can stop the video, read it. I'm going to stop it where I left off and pick up on it next week. So shoot, man, I didn't even get to the title of the video. What does the OAHSPE say about someone who is a spiritual agnostic? This is the study I was going to do. Talk about spiritual agnostic. So I think I'm going to just scroll it and have you read it on your own. You can stop the video. Okay, so come to the end of the video. And that's it right there. Summary of OAHSPE's stance on the spiritual agnostic. A spiritual agnostic, meaning neutral or uncertain about spiritual realities or Jehovah, would likely be seen as a transitional state of darkness or partial unbelief. It's not inherently evil, but distant from full unity and resurrection in higher heavens. Unbelief serves a purpose, which is to search for truth, balancing extremities, or contributing to worldly good. But true power, happiness, and everlasting progress come from building faith through practice, loving the all-highest ideal, doing good works, purifying oneself, listening for Jehovah's voice within. I can't stress that enough for me, man. OAHSPE encourages such a person, meaning a spiritual agnostic, to try the Creator, observe evidence in nature and inspiration, balance inquiry with openness, and associate with those living in harmony. It rejects forced belief or dogma, favoring experiential growth. So, to be open-minded. And basically, we in a situation where you don't even, the world is not talking with that professor, man. It was both defeating and sobering, because it let me know that we in a system where the light, the infrastructure to protect against the light getting out is strong, man. It's strong. It is strong, man. You would think that a university would be a place you can go, man, where open mind, they'll listen to what you have to say. They pride themselves on using their logic to test what you say. And even in an institution like that, man, the light the way it's set up is set up to block the light. The OAHSPE, in my mind, is set up. I know it's going to be knocked down. That wall is going to be knocked down, but right now, the wall against the light, the infrastructure against the light is strong. It is strong. And it's depressing, man. It can be, So, brethren, that's the best I can do for right now. If anybody has anything you want to share or say, the link is up top. But if not, then this is around the time that I usually like to close. And so if anybody listens to this video and you would like a copy of the 6-volume set of the OAHSPE Topical Study, the 6-volume set, just get in contact with me. I'll get it out to you. And also, I just, I should have said this earlier, but if anybody listening, you think it's a good idea to contact the local university and introduce the OAHSPE to them, go for it, based on your own inner light. If your inner light agrees to it, then I'm kind of like at the crossroads concerning that based on my own inner light. I'm not interested in recruiting or proselytizing, but I think that's the way it comes out. So I have to do some searching. But for you, brethren, if you think it's a good idea to try to spread the knowledge, the light of the OAHSPE, it's going to get out one way or another. Then I think approaching the local university, it might be a good idea to see what you can do in order to introduce it to. I think you probably would have to approach the theological department, or otherwise known as humanities or religious studies. I think it could be a good idea. I just think that I don't see how not trying to find ways to share is, I don't see how that would be a bad thing. Try to, the index cards, I think, are a pretty good idea. You can just drop them things and nobody even knows, you don't have to say that to nobody. So when you're talking about being on the earth and redeeming the time, I think you can't go wrong when you're constantly meditating and praying and thinking about how you can redeem the time, how you can learn, and you can, strike a blow for the Creator while we're on the earth, while we're in this reality. If the Creator says to make yourself and to attain the highest resurrection that you possibly can, I think that's a good idea. Then why not? All right, brethren. So, Jehovah, I just thank you for the opportunity to try to minister and to share things that will help to encourage brethren. We see the situation in the world, and we ask that the light of your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding covers the earth immediately, because it seems like the darkness is getting thicker, because the blood of our brethren is really flowing freely now. And there are faithists in other parts of the world who I know are really, really going through it right now. And so, Jehovah, I just ask that whatever we go through, that we can redeem the time and that we can be the best, strongest light that we possibly can while we're on the earth. And so thank you for letting us meet together. And until next time, thank you, Jehovah, in your name. So let it be. Brethren, thank you for joining me. Tuesdays and Fridays, 5 p.m. my time is when I try to go live. And so, again, according to the hopefully the I can pick up again where I left off. The study that the study on the Tetracts. Now try to pick up with that again. So until I see you again, thank you for joining me. Creator be with you.